Hello everyone, how are you doing today on this beautiful, lovely day? I hope that you all are doing well. In case you're unfamiliar with me, my name is Makeda Valletta, also known as the Body Scientist. And I have a background in exercise and sports science and nutrition science. I am a strength and conditioning coach, a sports nutritionist, a USA Olympic weightlifting coach, a doula, a dancer, a bunch of things, okay? So I specialize in taking our body to its highest levels, okay? And I have a holistic approach to the body and high-level performance, to nutrition, to fitness, to health, okay? And to me, holistic means taking the most potent medicines, okay, from the animal and the plant worlds, okay, because they work together. They've always worked together in every tradition. You have healing herbs and healing plants, and you have healing animal foods and animal products, using those to help keep your body in homeostasis, okay? Because disease is a manifestation of imbalances in our body, okay? And, you know, our body can tell us stuff. You know, certain things that happen can tell us what the imbalances are, all right? So it's important to listen to our bodies. And my approach is about bringing it back into balance and also prevention, okay? Because an ounce of prevention is worth way more than an ounce of cure, okay? So with that being said, I told you about my background. I am also currently working on a Master of Science in Medical Cannabis Science and Therapeutics. And I want to talk today about the difference between CBD and THC, okay? I really believe in cannabis medicine. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of medicinal applications. Cannabis has been used medicinally for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, okay, all over the world. And sorry, I was reading something. So, and cannabis was in the U.S. pharmacopoeia, okay, from 1840 to 1920. It was prescribed for over 50% of medical conditions, all right? And cannabis can be used in the form of tinctures, in the form of oils, you know, topical oils, edibles, smoking it, steaming with it, making a tea out of it, juicing it. There are many different applications for using cannabis medicinally. It depends on what you're using it for, right? And so now people hear a lot of talk about CBD. Some people think that CBD and THC are the same, or people may wonder why are all these CBD products legal but not THC, okay? So let me say that, you know, both THC and CBD are cannabinoids, okay? They're both cannabinoids. They're phytocannabinoids. So they're cannabinoids that come from plants. Then we have, and they're exogenous, which means they come from outside the body. Then we have endocannabinoids, okay, which are endogenous, endo meaning within, endogenous cannabinoids that our body makes, okay? And those are called, endocannabinoids. But some examples, there are several, but some of the two of the main ones are anandamide and 2-AG. CBD, there's also several phytocannabinoids too, that far exceed CBD and THC. We have THCA, there's CBG, CBN, CBDA. So there are many different cannabinoids, but CBD and THC are the most popular that people hear about a lot. Okay, so our body makes endocannabinoids on demand, and they're made from arachidonic acid, which is a fat that is only in animal foods. It's a fat that is, arachidonic acid is in egg yolks, it's in liver, it's in raw milk, it's in butter, okay? It's not in plant foods at all, okay? And that is the backbone of what makes our endocannabinoids. And there are some other endocannabinoids that are made from the backbone of omega-3 fats, but long-chain omega-3 fats, which only occur in animals as well, okay? So please take note of that. Cannabinoids are fat soluble. So the endocannabinoids are fat soluble, as are the phytocannabinoids, the CBD and THC. THC, that means that they absorb well and metabolize with fats, just like fat soluble vitamins. Fat soluble vitamins, like, which are the way that you can remember the fat soluble vitamins is the last four letters of my name: K, E, D, and A. Vitamin K, vitamin E, vitamin D, and vitamin A. Those are all fat soluble vitamins, okay? And in order for us to absorb them and utilize them, we need to consume them in the presence of fat, all right? This is why you don't want to drink orange juice that's fortified with vitamin D, because first of all, it's artificial vitamin D, because vitamin D does not naturally occur in juice or any plant food. But also there's no fat in orange juice, okay? And vitamin D needs lots of fat. Vitamin D also needs vitamin A and other cofactors to help it absorb properly, like calcium and stuff like that, none of which are in juice, okay? They try to put fake calcium in the juice, like all that is fake vitamins, right? So we want to avoid fake vitamins, because fake vitamins are not the same chemical form as what occurs naturally in nature. And this is the thing, thank you for the compliment, this is the thing about that people have to understand about nutrition and biochemistry, right? You have certain structures, like with cannabinoids, like CBD and THC are basically the same chemical formula, okay? This is where we get into general chemistry and organic chemistry. We have a chemical formula, right? Like it could be C2H6O8, right? Which is saying two carbon, molecules, and then however many hydrogen, so, and then however many oxygen I just said, right? So that's what that notation would mean. So that's the chemical formula. But you can have molecules with similar formulas but different structures. So that's the thing with CBD and THC. They have, I think, very similar chemical formulas, but their structure is a little bit different. So they're isomers of each other. That's what an isomer is, okay? It's like you're having the same compound but a different spin on it, a different structure. So, yeah, I'll definitely save this. I'll always save everything. I will also repost this to my YouTube page, too. So anybody here listening that doesn't follow me on YouTube, be sure to follow me on YouTube and vice versa. What was I going to say? The chemicals, and also CBD and THC is very similar in structure to our endocannabinoids, okay? So our endocannabinoids that our body produces, which are anandamide and 2-AG, which our bodies produce from arachidonic acid, which you can only find in animal fat, which is why one of the many reasons why animal fat is super important and super healing, animal foods, okay? Okay, so somebody said they heard that THC and CBD are the same thing, it's just that THC doesn't get you high. So it's not the same thing, okay? So I'm going to get into that. So, okay, anandamide and 2-AG have similar biochemical structures as CBD and THC as well. Now, the difference with THC and CBD, we have a system in our body called the endocannabinoid system, okay? The ECS, the endocannabinoid system. So all over all of the organs in our body, okay, heart cells, gastrointestinal cells, our sexual organs, our uterus, our the ovaries, your skin, like your spine, everywhere on your body, okay? We have plenty of endocannabinoid receptors. We have receptors where these cannabinoids bind. And when they bind to these receptors, they cause a different biochemical change in pathway and reaction to occur, okay? And it helps to modulate the systems. So if somebody's skin is arrayed and they're using cannabis topically, it helps to modulate that inflammation or that overreactivity in the skin or in the gut, or in the spine, all right? Now, THC, and they're called CB1 and CB2 receptors. CB1 and CB2. THC binds directly to those CB1 and CB2 receptors. It's not the strongest. I'm not trying to get too much into chemistry and just give you what you need, but I'm just saying it's not the strongest bond, but it does bond to it. Now, CBD does not CBD does not bind to those receptors. CBD binds to different receptors, okay? CBD binds to a different spot on those receptors. So on those receptors, CBD doesn't bind directly to the receptor. It binds to like another spot that affects the receptors, okay? So basically, CBD and THC have two different mechanisms of action. A lot of times, not in all cases, but in a lot of cases, they can have similar applications or results, meaning that CBD and THC can both be used for inflammation, they both can be used for pain, they both can be used for psychological issues. Now, when you're getting deep and complicated, when you're getting deep into certain health issues, some people, CBD might be better suited for them, some people THC might be better suited for them, but really a combination of both of them is always best. And there's different ratios. Some people might have a higher THC, low CBD, or they might have 50-50 THC, CBD, or they might have very high CBD and very low THC, right? Depending on what they're treating, what medications they may be on, a variety of other things, right? And so there are certain times, and so THC is considered to be, is considered to be intoxicating, okay? Both of them are psychoactive, because some people will say CBD is not psychoactive. That's not true, because what psychoactive means that it affects your brain. It affects how your brain is working, or your brain chemistry, right? And CBD does do that. Okay, CBD is considered not to be intoxicating because it's said that it doesn't give you the high feeling that THC can give you, but CBD has many applications in psychological disorders. So therefore, it's clear that it affects our brain, okay? But it's not intoxicating. So you can say that THC and CBD are both psychoactive, which means it acts on the brain and affects, the functioning of the brain. But CBD is not intoxicating. Now, that's what is said. But I once heard a nurse who said that she took a large dose of CBD, like super large dose, and she definitely felt a buzz from it, right? And I always stayed in my head, even though I've always heard people say CBD is not intoxicating. I'm like, perhaps it is. Perhaps there hasn't been enough research yet for them to know that. So, but I'm going to say generally, according to the textbook, CBD is not intoxicating, right? It's the THC that is. Now, the other thing, CBD helps to counteract the intoxicating effect of THC, okay? So depending on the health condition that somebody might be treating, some people may need a high dose of THC for something that they're dealing with. And administering CBD at that same time can help counteract how much of the THC binds and actually makes you have a high feeling, okay? So that's one thing to know. So if somebody was afraid of like very THC sensitive, or they just didn't want to feel any high, maybe they're very sensitive to it, they could combine it with CBD. Now, just because somebody uses THC medicinally does not mean they're going to get high. I know plenty of people who use THC medicinally, and they may not even be weed smokers, never been one, and they're not getting high from using THC oil or a tincture to treat a condition. A lot of that comes with coaching. Like if you have my nose is itching. If you have a practitioner that can guide you through it and walk you through it. But just generally speaking, you want to start with low doses, okay? So the rule in cannabis medicine is start low and go slow, especially when dealing with THC. So according to the textbooks, okay, people can tolerate extremely high doses of CBD without any negative reactions, without needing to be hospitalized, without feeling sick. People can tolerate extremely high doses of CBD, a much wider spectrum, whereas with THC, that's not the case, okay? Like the range of what, people can deal with is a lot smaller than it is with CBD. And if you take a super large dose of THC, it's not known to ever kill anybody, but it will make you feel uncomfortable and sickly, even though you will be okay, but it's just not a good feeling and nobody wants to do that, right? And especially not with the aging population. So that's another difference between THC and CBD. CBD to me would be, even when somebody is using primarily CBD, you do want to have a little bit of THC present. One of the, for me, I think that, for somebody there are people who really, they don't want to mess with THC. Maybe they get drug tested for work, which a lot of states now that have medical programs, if you are a medical patient, sometimes, and it depends on the state, but some states, if you're a medical patient and and there's medical cannabis is legal in that state, in some of those states you can't be drug tested, or fired because of that, right? In other states the laws are different. And then if somebody usually drug tests for testing for THC, but depending on the product somebody is using, sometimes there's still some THC in that product, and that person could still fail a drug test even though they think they're using something that's pure CBD or doesn't have THC present. So if there's a person who wants to use cannabis medicinally and they really can't have a positive test, like it would be cost them their job, you want to be really careful about the products that you choose, because that can happen, okay? When I first started learning about cannabis medicine, I learned from a Jamaican friend of mine. He makes the cannabis oils and tinctures that I use. He, grows it without chemicals and, infuses it and makes the products without using harsh chemicals. He's the one that taught me a lot about the harsh chemicals that are added to cannabis, to vapes, and all those things. And so, just like with food, those of you who follow me know I talk about food quality all the time. The same applies when it comes to cannabis. You want good quality stuff that's not, full of a whole bunch of toxic chemicals, right? We don't want to try to solve one problem like hunger and nourishment by poisoning ourselves with chemicals, right? So, and I remember he told me, when I first started learning about this, which is 5 years ago now, okay, it was 2018 when I ripped my navel ring out of my stomach by accident on the pole. And no, actually it started a couple weeks before that when I had a really bad fall on some ice, okay, and really jacked up my knees, okay. So I've been on this learning journey, learning about the medicinal properties and applications of cannabis since 2018. And then it just accelerated in this past, it has accelerated since the summer, okay, in terms of what it is that I understand about cannabis medicine. But I remember he used to always tell me that THC was more medicinal than CBD. And I'm the kind of person, I respect folk medicine. I respect people who've been, cultures who've been using a certain herb medicinally for generations. I like to know their applications, okay? Because there's nothing better to me in terms of research. A group of people who've been using something or doing something for, hundreds of years, thousands of years, several generations, and it has proven to work. I feel like they a lot of times know more than the scientists, and the scientists could do a lot to learn from them. And so I've always been integrated with my stuff. I would like to, the Western science part of me would like to understand the mechanisms of action, but I also know that there's always going to be some element of mystery in the mechanisms of action when it comes to food, nutrients, herbs, and stuff like that. But for me, I need to have like an understanding of how this works to really like feel confident in what it is I'm saying. So he used to always tell me that THC was more medicinal than CBD. And especially when it comes to like nerve pain and stuff like that, because THC has a serious affinity with the central nervous system. And for a long time, I didn't use any CBD stuff, and now that, I've learned, and then, I have experimented like maybe in the past year, maybe a year and a half with CBD-based products that my friend creates. And I have found that I can use CBD oil and THC oil for many of the same things. When it comes to, because it can be used for sexual arousal as well. I think when it comes to that, the THC oil is more potent for me, right? And then in theory, it should be the THC that would be more potent for that. But CBD works too. There are women who use CBD lubes, and they also claim that it gets them aroused, and so you have that. When it comes to spinal pain, because I got into a car accident in 2021, and I still get back pain from that. It was cannabis oil that really saved me, brought me back to myself when that happened. But now, sometimes, every now and then, my back will start to hurt again. And I've never had back pain in my life. And I'll put some of the cannabis oil in my tea. Now, I used to always use THC oil, but then I started to experiment with using CBD for the same thing as well. And it also helped, and it worked. If somebody is on multiple medications, right, sometimes CBD might be better, okay, because there are drug interactions, okay? There are drug interactions with THC and CBD. Thank you, Sumi. Such a compliment. There are drug interactions. So sometimes, yes, you love THC lube. Yes, THC lube to me is amazing, okay? You have women who say that when they smoke, it also arouses them. I'm not one of those people, but there are women who say that. But with the lube, I do think that THC lube is more potent than CBD lube. But I'm not going to say CBD lube doesn't work at all, okay? I think if somebody has spinal issues, like they have something wrong with their nerves because they have like a pinched disc, or, any kind of issue with the spine and the central nervous system and pain, I think THC is very important. I think if I was dealing with an older person who is recovering from a stroke, I might look at CBD a lot. And I also might look at CBD a lot if it was, some people are extremely THC sensitive, and then they might already be on medications, and then they may also be an older person, because older people usually can have to take much smaller doses of THC. The interesting thing is that with children, when it comes to cannabis medicine, the younger the person is, the higher amounts of THC and cannabinoids, period, that they need, okay? But definitely the higher percentage of THC. Like a 1-year-old, because there are children who are using cannabis medicinally, especially to treat serious conditions like brain tumors and certain cancers, okay? And the amount of THC they may need may be 20, 30 times the amount that somebody who's in their 70s would need, okay? So the older somebody gets, the lower percentage of THC that they need, the lower amount, okay? And so with cannabis medicine, it's always about starting low and going slow to see how somebody reacts to it. My mom, when it comes to the immune system, I don't know, like, for me, there's like the textbook side of things, you know what I'm saying? And then there's like what I see in the real world. And sometimes I don't understand, like okay, so let me give an example of something. Topically, I use cannabis oil, okay? Cannabis infused coconut oil. The tinctures, it was taught to me, okay, because my first teacher who taught me a lot, like what he said and what he has taught me still stays in my head, and I look for the science to back it up and help me understand it. But I know that what he told me was that the tinctures were more of an antiseptic than the oils, right? So if somebody is trying to really treat an infection, let's say somebody has an oral infection, or they want to prevent one, or I don't know, any other type of infection, or they want to prevent an infection, that the tinctures are more of an antiseptic than the oils. Even though to me, I understand that coconut oil is an extremely potent antiviral and antimicrobial. So coconut oil has very potent antimicrobial properties as well. But he's like swears by the fact that the tincture is more antiseptic. Now, he also talked to me about making a sopsis, which is like soaking like a gauze or something in the tincture, applying it topically for a couple different reasons. But I do know that Mexicans, okay, they keep cannabis in bottles of alcohol and make tinctures of it and use it topically. Now, and I've known this because I feel like I found out about this a couple years ago. I didn't understand the science behind using a tincture topically. Oil makes sense because even on our skin, we have fats. You know what I'm saying? It's fat and protein. Fats go with the skin. The tincture science, I don't really understand. Also, the fact that cannabinoids are fat soluble and alcohol is alcohol, not fat. So there's some more things I need to understand about the tinctures. But when I did get COVID in July of last year, of 2022, and I used a tincture. And I'm trying to remember, I can't remember if I used a THC tincture or the CBD tincture, or maybe I used both. I also used echinacea in green tea. No, I used echinacea tinctures, drank green tea. I made green tea and put echinacea and cannabis tinctures in my tea, right? And I recovered pretty quickly. My mom, just now when I was home, she was like out of it for some days, and she told me, like, I don't feel like myself. I've been feeling very sluggish. I feel like I'm getting sick. I don't know what's wrong with me. And my mom knows like if she feels like she's getting sick, she starts to drink green tea. Even though I always say green tea and echinacea, I think green tea by itself is not as effective as when you combine it with echinacea, especially if you feel like you can feel sickness coming on. So I made her green tea and echinacea and put the cannabis tincture in it. Oh no, CBD tincture. It was CBD tincture I put in her tea, right? And like 15 minutes later, I see her walking around with all this energy, and I'm noticing, like, you have a lot of pep in your step now. And she's like, I feel so much better. And it was very quick, very quick. Normally, you want to put the tincture under your tongue, right? That's like the fastest acting and the way that the most potent. But it burns like hell, okay? So some people don't want to deal with that. They can't deal with it. You have to really get mentally tough to leave it there burning like that. But you can also put it in your tea, okay? So that's what I did for her, so she didn't have to. But it still worked. And then after that, my mom was telling me, oh, I can breathe better, like all this stuff. And she kept thanking me. By the end of the day, she was thanking me so much for helping her feel better. She's like, you have no idea. Like, just getting up and like going to the store was too much for me. Like, everything was too much for me. And from that day on, she wanted to use, in her morning, she wanted to have some tea with some CBD tincture. But what I noticed is that, like, when she was sick, when I made her the first cup, I put a whole, with the tincture, I put like a whole valve, okay, of tincture into her tea. Okay, and then I think I made her another cup later, too, just because. But the next morning, the voices in my head told me I probably shouldn't put that much in her tea because she probably doesn't need that much. And one of the things, if you don't need that much, and even if it doesn't give you a negative reaction, you don't really want to use more than you have to because it can be expensive. You know what I'm saying? Like, cannabis medicine is not something that's covered by insurance, right? Unless you grow your own plants and you just make endless, then fine, right? But the voices in my head told me she probably doesn't need that much, and I was gonna put less. I was gonna put a few, and because she wasn't sick anymore, right? So because she wasn't sick anymore, I'm like, could probably just put a few drops for maintenance. The voices in my head told me that, but still, I put a whole valve in the tea, and then she told me, like, I don't know, maybe a half an hour later, that she felt like a little bit overly stimulated, like her heart was beating fast, even though CBD is not known to cause a faster heartbeat. THC is, but there is a little THC in that tincture. So perhaps that THC in that tincture, even though it was very minute, was too much for her. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, but I just knew that, things affect people differently. So that's why, to me, it's hard sometimes to say that, oh, this is going to make you feel this way, and this is going to make you feel that way, because there are differences. There are generalizations, but then there are personal differences. And you have to pay attention to yourself to get your right dosing. So, but it just made sense to me that you're not sick anymore, so you don't need as much. You should just put a few drops for maintenance. And so she started putting a few drops of the CBD tincture in her tea every morning, and it was just like a part of her. And my mom said to me, I could get addicted to this, you know what I'm saying? And actually, one of the differences between CBD and THC is that CBD does not cause reinforcement. So reinforcement, like, which THC does cause, where you have like this dopamine response when you take it, and it's like pleasurable. My professor doesn't like the word addiction, but let's say it can make somebody, there can be some dependency issues. I have mixed opinions about that, but according to the science, yes. And it can affect the receptors. Like when you're consuming large amounts of THC, you can build something called tolerance, right? Which means that you need higher and higher dosages in order for it to work. So CBD doesn't cause those things, okay? According to the science now. We don't know if it'll change in the future, but that's what they say now, right? Also, CBD is very good when used for people who have substance abuse issues. So somebody who may be an alcoholic, or somebody that might be, on heroin or prescription drugs that they're addicted to. If you're addicted to a drug, CBD is very effective in reversing that, okay? And weaning somebody off of that addiction. Not THC, but CBD. And it has to do with the mechanisms of action of how they work. The other thing there was something else I was about to say. Darn it. Oh, when I have headaches, okay? Now again, everybody's different. I'm just telling you that my observations. When I have headaches, I use CBD oil, okay? When I have a headache, I don't want to smoke anything. Like, that's the last thing I want to do. But it's the CBD oil that I put in my tincture that helps. I put in my tea. I use CBD oil and put it in my tea. And that's what has always helped my headaches. Now, possibly a tincture could also help that, but I just haven't used a tincture for that. And so, yeah. So, if you're using cannabis medicine, if you're using CBD or you're using THC, it can be smoked, it can be used as a tincture, it can be used as a topical, it can be ingested. When you do ingest it, the chemistry is different. It turns into a different drug. Okay, so THC and CBD in its raw form in the plant is CBDA and THCA, which is an acid form. Okay, so if you were to make tea from it, or juice it, you'll get the acid forms of CBD and THC. CBDA, THCA, which in Jamaica you have, there's been research done with Rasta communities and mothers who consumed a lot of cannabis tea during their pregnancy. But when you're consuming that, you're getting the raw acid forms, which is not the decarboxylated forms. To make THC, which is psychoactive, it needs to be decarboxylated, okay? Which means fire needs to be applied to it. So like people smoke, that decarboxylates it. People, cook with it, that decarboxylates it. Usually they decarboxylate it before they cook with it and they make an oil, right? So that makes active THC. But if you just eat cannabis plants, it's not going to have an intoxicating effect on you. But THCA and CBDA are also very medicinal and have many applications for pain, inflammation, and strengthening your immune system, just like THC and CBD, okay? So somebody can use THCA instead of THC as well if they're THC sensitive or they're afraid of getting intoxicated or they don't want to be intoxicated, even though you can use THC medicinally and not get intoxicated. I have worked with plenty of people who do not smoke weed, they never smoked it, and they're using THC medicinally and it's not making them high, because it's about finding the right dosing, okay? So don't think that because somebody's using THC medicinally that they're going to be high. Like that's not the case, okay? And you want to make sure that you have good products. I did videos before about endocannabinoids and just cannabis and nutrition because, like I said, cannabinoids, whether they be endocannabinoids or phytocannabinoids, they're fat soluble, okay? So which means that they need fat in order to be utilized, absorbed properly, metabolized properly, utilized properly. Same thing is true with our endocannabinoids. Our endocannabinoids are made from animal fat, okay? And our whole central nervous system, our brain and our central nervous system is coated in cholesterol and long-chain saturated fats and long-chain omega-3 fats, which only occur in animal foods, okay? There are no long-chain omega-3 fats in plants. There are no long-chain saturated fats in plants. And arachidonic acid, which is the backbone for 2-AG and anandamide, which is our endocannabinoids, arachidonic acid is only in animal foods, in liver, in egg yolks, in butter, in meat, okay? So there's a lot of people who are using cannabis medicinally because they have an endocannabinoid system deficiency. Now, an endocannabinoid system deficiency means that either that person is not producing enough endocannabinoids, and to me, that if someone's not producing enough, then that's a clear sign of nutritional deficiencies. They're probably on a plant-based diet or something. But then also an endocannabinoid system deficiency can occur because of an issue with the enzymes, okay? Because there are enzymes involved in this system too. And enzymes are made from protein, okay? So maybe somebody might have a problem with the enzymes because they're also not eating enough protein. And protein and fat occur in the same foods, okay? Eggs, butter, milk, other dairy, cheese, organ meats, seafood, protein and fat go together, okay? Plant foods are mostly carbohydrates, okay? And fiber, which is an indigestible carbohydrate, okay? There's very little protein or fat in plants, and when they are there, they're pretty much insignificant. Like plant protein is like inferior compared to animal protein, and same thing with the fats, okay? Especially when it comes to building our body. Like coconut oil is an excellent fat when it comes to burning fat, when it comes to killing infectious diseases, okay? Bacteria, viruses, stuff like that. Coconut oil is one of the best. Coconut oil is not what we need for our brain, okay? It's not what we need for our central nervous system. It's not giving us vitamins A and vitamin D like ghee is and butter is and lard is and tallow is, okay? And also arachidonic acid that I was saying, our endocannabinoids are made from arachidonic acid. Arachidonic acid is also critically important for the integrity of our gut walls, of the lining of our gut. We need to have tight cell-to-cell junctions in our gut and also on our skin, okay? And the skin health and gut health are interrelated. When you see somebody with really bad skin issues, that's also an indication of gut issues. A compromised, intestinal wall, okay? Imbalance of bacteria. Somebody might have an overgrowth of yeast that grows Candida albicans, which isn't everybody, but some people can grow out of control, especially if you're eating too much sugar, and it grows like roots and branches that poke holes into your intestines. Into your intestinal wall. And then you can have, when you're eating, certain foods and nutrients are leaking through it and thus causing allergies, okay? because now it's running around your body and your body's like, what is this? And now you have an allergy to that thing. So a lot of times, even people have a lot of allergies, they have an imbalance of gut flora. And we want to keep those intestinal walls also tight, okay? It waterproofs, arachidonic acid helps to waterproof our skin and keep the integrity of our gut, keep those tight cell-to-cell junctions, while also being the backbone for our endocannabinoids, okay? So, I did a video before about cannabis edibles and how most of them are junk, okay? People can make certain things at home, but that can be a challenge depending on the state somebody's in or depending on where they live, their living situation, and stuff like that. But I really want to do a lot more work in teaching people, because if you follow me, I'm an educator. I don't just like to tell people do this, do that. But people a lot of times need to be taught and educated. So cooking with it, I think cooking with cannabis, like people think of it in terms of getting high, but medicinally, I feel like if you're using it medicinally, for whatever health problem you have, cooking with it is way better than eating gummies and brownies and cookies, okay? Because if you have a problem with diabetes, if you have a problem with obesity, if you have a hormonal problem, if you have an autoimmune problem, okay, which a lot of cancer, which a lot of people who are using cannabis medicine have these issues, arthritis, the last thing that you want to do is be eating sugar, okay? Number one. Number two, grains, all right? So you're eating cookies and brownies and gummies, and a lot of times the stuff in a dispensary has canola oil in it, okay? If you follow my work, you want to avoid canola oil at all costs. Instead, having a cannabis-infused butter, okay? Cannabis-infused coconut oil, cannabis-infused olive oil, or tallow, but not canola oil, okay? You do not want to consume canola oil at all. Sunflower oil, safflower oil, corn oil, vegetable oil, all that stuff is poison, okay? So if you're using cannabis medicinally, but you're eating brownies that has canola oil in it, that's a problem, okay? Like if somebody's dealing with inflammation and they're consuming a cannabis edible that has inflammatory ingredients like sugar and so-called vegetable oils, which really don't come from vegetables, because if you think about it, corn oil, soybean oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, none of those come from vegetables. Those are all seed oils, rancid seed oils, okay? Canola oil is pure poison. That's what causes heart attacks and cancer and inflammation, all right? And then with the gummies, I feel like if somebody makes gummies themselves and they use gelatin, because gelatin is actually good for us. Like, gelatin is in broth, bone broth, which is also critical for people that have digestive issues and issues with their immune system and their gut. So if someone made their own gummies with like real juice maybe and gelatin, then it could be better. But when you're getting it from like a dispensary and it has artificial colors in it, or sometimes there's canola oil added to it and other crap, there's a lot of crap added to the stuff in dispensaries. And to me, even if I was using cannabis recreationally, I wouldn't eat that, because I don't eat that anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't eat canola oil brownies. I don't even eat brownies, and I really don't eat cookies either. Like, I might eat a cookie once every 4 years. Like, I'm not a cookie person. If somebody put it in some cheesecake or in some ice cream, I would love that, because I'm a milk person. And in India, they have a drink called Bang, okay? And it's like a cannabis-infused milk drink, okay? Because remember, in India, they love their yogurts and their cheese, but they have I think it might be a ceremonial drink, Bang, which is a cannabis and milk. But cannabis and milk go well together, okay? Because there's arachidonic acid in milk. There's excellent fats in milk, okay, that help you to utilize and absorb it, So to me, it's better to combine it if someone's using it medicinally, making a butter sauce and putting it over some fish, making a butter sauce and putting it over and having it with some shrimp or some other seafood, putting it over some damn steak, or eggs in the morning, or putting it in. I always put cannabis oil in my tea, and my tea is a fat-based tea. Every morning I make tea with raw milk and raw cream and yerba mate and maybe some chai. And if I need to use it because my back is hurting or because I have a headache, I put it in there, right? I think doing workshops around traditional foods and teaching people how to incorporate it into their food if they need to use it medicinally. And it's interesting because when dealing with the older population, and I feel like this is going to be a niche of mine, okay, because I have helped a lot of my dad's friends, all right? A lot of my dad's friends were in their 70s and in their 80s, and some of them might already have been cannabis smokers. Some of them aren't. Some of them are not cannabis smokers, all right, and haven't smoked it since they were in college in their 70s. But some of them are, okay, and they might grow plants, okay, but they don't know all the medicinal applications. Like, there might be somebody who grows cannabis plants and they smoke all the time. They've been smoking all their life. But do they know all the medicinal applications? Like, you could have certain health problems that happen, and you have this cannabis plant in your house that could heal you, but you may not know what else to do with it besides smoke it, right? Or applications, right? But with the aging population, it's super helpful because the pharmaceutical industry tries to dump medications on older people, okay? And one of the reasons why I'm so into health and fitness, right? It's not just about, because some people are all into what they eat, but they don't do shit, right? Or some people are very physically active, but they eat crap. Like, both of them matter, okay? People always want to have this debate about, does exercise matter more or does nutrition matter more? They both matter equally. What you do with your body and what you put in it equally matter, okay? Especially if you're trying to age gracefully and not have your shit fall apart, okay? So to me, I value the function of my body, okay? Feeling good, because nobody wants to be in chronic pain every day. Somebody who's in chronic pain every day, your back is killing you every day. You have pain shooting down your legs every day. You got whatever kind of discomfort and pain that somebody could be dealing with, that can drive somebody crazy. And then the opioids and the pharmaceuticals could be addictive. Then they can stop working. Then they want to give people epidurals and, you know, putting them on all these medications that's making them sick, all right? And I can't imagine what it's like, you know, to be aging. And, you know, like once people get in their 70s, they get in their 80s, they get in their 90s. A lot of times, you know, the medical community acts like, oh, they're old anyway. Like, and they'll pressure you into taking all these drugs that you don't have to take. And it's all about having good quality of life for as long as we're on this planet. I'm all about living as long as possible, but also having a good quality of life while I do that. And having good health is essential, because somebody could live to 85 and they were sick for 20 of those years or 30 of those years, okay? And they couldn't really live a full life, and they might have been in chronic pain. Like, who wants that, right? So that's why I'm so much about prevention, okay? Prevention, because when it comes to our health, what we don't know can't hurt us. And what we do as we age, what we do when we're, from the time that we're kids up into adulthood and throughout that, affects how we age, okay? And how our health is and stuff like that. So I find that for the, you know, to be older and to feel like maybe the doctors and the medical community doesn't take me seriously because I'm older, and they just think, oh, you're old and you're just supposed to, it's just normal for you to have that problem. But they're not really listening to you because they may not value or think it's that important, or they just look at you as like a moneymaker because they can dump all these medications on you. And a lot of times the medical industry makes people feel pressured, okay, like they have to take this, all right? Like, when it comes to my parents, like, you know, I'm on it when they go to the doctor, okay? It's easier for me with my mom than with my dad, because I could go off on a whole, I just think men can be a little dramatic, because I'm just laughing at, you know, my dad has a male doctor, my mom has a female doctor, and the whole situation with my dad and his doctor is like a bit dramatic. I won't get too much into it. But my mom, like, a lot of times I'm there, she's on FaceTime with me, I know exactly what's going on. And I don't want my parents being put on medications, and I have stopped it before. Now, you know, my dad, it's like, he will go with Western medicine a little bit, okay? Like, every single jab that they come out with the flu one or shingles, he's going to be the first one in line to take it, which I don't like, and that makes me nervous, but thankfully he hasn't gotten sick or harmed from it, but I don't like that. So he's kind of like that, but at the same time, he does not want to be on pharmaceuticals. But the doctors, even with all of that, they managed to get both of my parents on hypertension medication, okay? And I don't want anybody to be on that, okay? And people that have hypertension often are severely vitamin D deficient. And we know that there's a vitamin D deficiency problem on the planet, but especially among melanated people, but even non-melanated people, but with melanated people, it's even worse. And then the older you get and the more body fat you have, the higher your requirements for vitamin D is, right? So with the aging population, having high doses of vitamin D, high doses of cholesterol, high doses of animal fat, is really critical for them, okay? And my mom stopped taking her hypertension medication, okay? And she really works with her yoga and is serious about it for some years now, and really takes her nutrition seriously. Is taking her cod liver oil, and cannabis can be used as well to modulate blood pressure. That is, something that I will be working with my parents on in the future. But I can't tell you how many of, it's a pleasure and an honor for me to help my dad's friends, because they're all very important people who've given so much to society, and they're like, I'm in pain. I don't want to be in pain. I don't want to take this medication. And, I just find that the aging population is really important when it comes to cannabis medicine. And there's a lot of considerations that have to be taken when it comes to them, because a lot of times they react to things differently because their metabolism is different. And so this is where CBD can really be considered a lot to be used with the aging population to help, especially if they're on a lot of medications. So I think I've said enough in this video to make my what I'm trying to say clear. And every time I'm done with a video, I remember shit that I meant to say that I didn't say. But I think that I said mostly what I need to say about the difference between CBD and THC. Okay? So if you're on YouTube and you don't follow me on Instagram, be sure to follow me there. And if you're on Instagram and you don't follow me on YouTube, be sure to follow me there. And, I'm always here to work with clients one-on-one. And a lot of you have questions and will be in my inbox asking me health questions. Feel free to join my OnlyFans page, onlyfans.com/thebodyscientist. On that page, you can ask me questions, and I will do videos and respond to things that you guys request. I'll go more into depth with stuff, okay? And I hope you guys have a great day. And have you used cannabis medicinally? If so, what have you used it for? What were your results? What form did you use it in? And let's share and learn, okay? Have a great day, people. Bye.